Another traffic jam?
Oh, you muddy fugglers! Get in here, sit down, we're going to read some news. What jobs were there in the Victorian times, perhaps, that aren't done now? All sorts of maintenance jobs in manufacturing and keeping those big mills running eventually were squished out by more and more efficient machines, needing less and less human maintenance. Do we really miss those jobs, though? Do we miss having to send children into machinery to find and fix tiny faults that could lead to their being crushed or shredded or whatever? There's a lot of jobs that we don't miss in retrospect because of mechanization. So how will AI affect work? And what jobs will disappear perhaps that we don't like and we will never miss? This article on Wired, written by Kevin Kelly, double K. Let's hope his middle name isn't also a K. That would be a disaster. Better than human, why robots will and must take our jobs. Imagine that 7 out of 10 working Americans got fired tomorrow. What would they all do? It's hard to believe you'd have an economy at all if you gave pink slips to more than half of the labour force. But that, in slow motion, is what the Industrial Revolution did to the workforce of the early 19th century. 200 years ago, 70% of American workers lived on the farm. Today, automation has eliminated all but 1% of their jobs, replacing them and their work animals with machines. Exactly where did all the horses go, I wonder? But the displaced workers did not sit idle. Instead, automation created hundreds of millions of jobs in entirely new fields. Those who once farmed were now manning the legions of factories that churned out farming equipment, cars and other industrial products. Since then, wave upon wave of new occupations have arrived. Appliance repairman, offset printer, food chemist, photographer, web designer, each building on previous automation. Today, the vast majority of us are doing jobs that no farmer from the 1800s could have imagined. It may be hard to believe, but before the end of the century, 70% of today's occupations will likewise be replaced by automation. I imagine it's probably before then. Yes, dear reader, even you will have your job taken away by machines. In other words, robot replacement is just a matter of time. This upheaval is being led by a second wave of automation, one that is centered on artificial cognition, cheap sensors, machine learning, and distributed smarts. This deep automation will touch all jobs from manual labor to knowledge work. First, machines will consolidate their gains in already automated industries. After robots finish replacing assembly line workers, they will replace the workers in warehouses. Speedy bots able to lift 150 pounds all day long will retrieve boxes, sort them, and load them onto trucks. Fruit and vegetable picking will continue to be robotized until no humans pick outside of specialty farms. Exactly, yes, the worry about there not being enough migrants to pick our fruit because of Trump closing the border perhaps can be offset by automation, and perhaps should be offset by automation. Pharmacies will feature a single pill dispensing robot in the back, while the pharmacists focus on patient consulting. Next, the more dexterous chores of cleaning an office and schools will be taken over by late-night robots, starting with easy-to-do floors and windows and eventually getting to toilets. The highway legs of a long-haul trucking routes will be driven by robots embedded in truck cabs. A lot of these jobs are the most difficult jobs to do for automation, so the easier jobs that will become axed first are, I have read, those that are more frequently occupied by women at the moment. So a lot of admin jobs. These physically active jobs looking to be some of the last in line because they require a lot of thinking. You might like to cast them as being low IQ, a lot of these jobs, but they're not, because you need to do a lot of very different things when you're cleaning an office. It's not just one set of things. You've got to navigate the whole space. You've got to understand a whole bunch of things that these robots are not very good at doing unless they're teleoperated, which is probably, a good way of continuing to give people work, in my opinion. All the while, robots will continue their migration into white-collar work. We already have artificial intelligence in many of our machines. I think the issue there is it's going to attack white-collar work before it hits blue-collar, which, if you look at the way that the two different parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, have switched position in their attitude towards working people, the Republican Party seems to be much more working class now than the Democrats, whereas they seem to be more white collar, more admin type jobs, in my opinion. We already have artificial intelligence in many of our machines, we just don't call it that. Witness one piece of software by Narrative Science that can write newspaper stories about sports games directly from the game's stats or generate a synopsis of a company's stock performance each day from bits of text around the web. Any job dealing with reams of paperwork will be taken over by bots, including much of medicine. Even those areas of medicine not defined by paperwork, such as surgery, are becoming increasingly robotic. The rote task of any information-intensive job can be automated. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor, lawyer, or architect, reporter, or even programmer. The robot takeover will be epic, and it has already begun. Here's why we're at the inflection point. Machines are acquiring smarts. We have preconceptions about how an intelligent robot should look and act, and these can blind us to what is already happening around us. To determine that artificial intelligence can be human-like is the same flawed logic as demanding that artificial flying be bird-like with flapping wings. Robots will think different. To see how far artificial intelligence has penetrated our lives, we need to shed the idea that they will be human-like. Consider Baxter, a revolutionary new work bot from Rethink Robotics. Designed by Rodney Brooks, the former MIT professor who invented the best-selling Roomba vacuum cleaner and its descendants, Baxter is an early example of a new class of industrial robot created to work alongside humans. Is that Baxter? There he is. Hello, Baxter. Baxter does not look impressive. It's got big, strong arms and a flat screen display like many industrial bots. And Baxter's hands perform repetitive manual tasks, just as factory robots do, but it's different in 3 significant ways. First, it can look around and indicate where it is looking by shifting the cartoon eyes on its head. It can perceive humans working near it and avoid injuring them, and workers can see whether it sees them. Previous industrial robots couldn't do this, which means that working robots have to be physically segregated from humans. A typical factory robot is imprisoned within a chain-link fence or caged in a glass case. They are simply too dangerous to be around because they are oblivious to others. This isolation prevents such robots from working in a small shop where isolation is not practical. Optimally, workers should be able to get materials to and from the robot or to tweak its controls by hand throughout the working day. Isolation makes that difficult. Baxter, however, is aware. Using force feedback technology to feel if it's colliding with a person or another bot, it's courteous. You can unplug it, you can plug it into a wall socket in your garage and easily work right next to it. Second, anyone can train Baxter. It's not as fast, strong or precise as other industrial robots, but it's smarter. To train the bot, you simply grab its arms and guide them to the correct motions and sequence. It's kind of watch me do this routine. Baxter learns the procedure and then repeats it. Any worker is capable of this show and tell. You don't even have to be literate. Previous work bots required highly educated engineers to crack programs to write thousands of lines of code and then debug them in order to instruct the robot in the simplest change of task. The code has to be loaded in batch mode, i.e. in large, infrequent batches, because the robot cannot be reprogrammed while it is being used. Turns out the real cost of the typical industrial robot is not its hardware but its operation. Industrial robots cost $100,000 plus to purchase but can require 4 times that amount over a lifespan to program, train and maintain. The costs pile up until the average lifetime bill for an industrial robot is $500,000 or more. The third difference then is that Baxter is cheap. Priced at $22,000, it is a different league compared with a $500,000 total bill of its predecessors. It is as if those established robots with their batch mode programming are the mainframe computers of the robot world, and Baxter is the first PC robot. It is likely to be dismissed as a hobbyist toy, missing key features like sub-millimeter precision and not serious enough. But as with the PC, it's unlike the mainframe. The user can interact with it directly, immediately, without waiting for experts to mediate, and use it for non-serious, even frivolous things. It's cheap enough that small-time manufacturers can afford one to package up their wares or custom paint their product or run their 3D printing machine, or you could staff up a factory that makes iPhones. Yeah, you could have a controller 3D printing machine, so it would start the process and then retrieve the print, and then start another process and retrieve the print, maybe. Baxter was invented in a century-old brick building near the Charles River in Boston. In 1895, the building was a manufacturing marvel in the very center of the new manufacturing world. It even generated its own electricity. For 100 years, the factories inside its walls changed the world around us. Now, the capabilities of Baxter and the approaching cascade of superior robot workers spur Brooks to speculate on how these robots will shift manufacturing in a disruption greater than the last revolution. Looking out of his office window at the former industrial neighborhood, he says, right now we think of manufacturing as happening in China, but as manufacturing costs shrink because of robots, the costs of transportation become a far greater factor than the cost of production. Nearby will be cheap. So we'll get this network of locally franchised factories, but most things will be made within 5 miles of where they are needed. Exactly, yes, I agree with this completely. I think we're headed for a cottage industry of micro manufacturing and other small service industries that can work with each other. I think that is the future. People running manufacturing operations in their garages. Maybe if you want to buy a new fishing rod, you'll buy it from a local Walmart, but that Walmart will have a contract with a local facility to manufacture it, and you'll get it the next day new, maybe. That may be true of making stuff, but a lot of jobs left in the world for humans are service jobs. A lot of jobs left in the world for humans are service jobs. I asked Brooks to walk me through a local McDonald's and point out the jobs that his kind of robots can replace. He demurs and suggests it might be 30 years before robots will cook for us. That is a crazy thing to say. 30 years? I mean, maybe we don't want that to happen, but it's already possible in a place like McDonald's, so why would you say that? I don't agree with that. In a fast food place, you're not doing the same task very long. You're always changing things on the fly, so you need special solutions. We're not trying to sell a specific solution. We are building a general purpose machine that other workers can set up themselves and work alongside. And once we can co-work with robots next to us, it's inevitable that our tasks will bleed together, and soon our old work will become theirs. And our new work will become something we can hardly imagine. Quite possibly, yeah. I think teleoperation is probably the way to go, for a number of reasons, keeping us skilled and in the loop, but also for training of these AIs. Being able to see us deal with problems in the real world will be the best training exercise we could give these AIs, because at the moment a lot of these training exercises are purely academic. They're feeding in information online. They're not really training these AIs on how to deal with the world as a human would deal with the world. So being able to hook into that teleoperation is a big boon for data mining for these AIs. So I see that as being inevitable because they will want to get that data, so they will make those machines available. So I would not be surprised if Wendy's has a robot inside. I know they use AI to get your order, and it works better than people. Sorry, it does. I'm fed up of people not understanding what I'm saying. It's clear, it understands me, it gets my order right. To understand how robot replacement will happen, it's useful to break down our relationship with robots into 4 categories as summed up in this chart. Existing jobs, new jobs, human machine. Jobs today that humans do, but machines will eventually do better. Current jobs that humans can't do, but machines can. Jobs that only humans will be able to do at first. Robot jobs that we can't even imagine yet. The rows indicate whether robots will take over existing jobs or make new ones, and the columns indicate whether these jobs seem like jobs for humans or machines. Let's begin with quadrant A. Jobs humans can do but robots can't do better. Humans can weave cotton cloth with great effort, but automated looms make perfect cloth by the mile for a few cents. The only reason to buy a handmade cloth today is because you want the imperfections humans introduce. We no longer value irregularities while traveling 70 miles per hour though, so the fewer humans touch our car as it is being made, the better. And yet, for more complicated chores, we still tend to believe computers and robots can't be trusted. That's why we've been slow to acknowledge how they've mastered some conceptual routines, in some cases even surpassing their mastery of physical routines. A computerized brain known as the autopilot can fly a 787 jet unaided, but irrationally we place human pilots in the cockpit to babysit the autopilot just in case. I think that's a good thing. It's a very good thing to make sure that we have people who are skilled at doing stuff. If we become unskilled at anything, we might be in a position where we will not be able to reclaim those skills, and so there could be a massive disadvantage, an unknown unknown from an atrophy of skills. So I don't agree with the way you've cast that. Maybe they may be surplus, but I think I would like people to know how to fly planes, please. In the 1990s, computerized mortgage appraisals replaced human appraisers wholesale. Much tax preparation has gone to computers, as well as routine X-ray analysis and pre-trial evidence gathering, all once done by highly paid smart people. We've accepted utter reliability in robot manufacturing. Soon we'll accept it in robotic intelligence services. Next is Quadrant B. Which one was Quadrant B? Current jobs that humans can't do but machines can. Jobs that humans can't do but robots can. A trivial example, humans have trouble making a single brass screw unassisted, but automation can produce 1,000 exact ones per hour. Without automation, we could not make a single computer chip, a job that requires degrees of precision, control, and unwavering attention that our animal bodies don't possess. Now I wonder, could you make a microchip with a ruler and a pen that extruded some conductive material? Can you do that? You must be able to do that. I've seen circuitry. It's just a bunch of lines where electricity travels along them. Can you draw a circuit board and then get it to calculate something? That would be kind of cool. So I don't think that's true. It's not a good way of doing it, but you could do it. Homegrown microchips. Probably the size of a house if you're going to draw it and have it do anything. Likewise, no human, indeed no group of humans, no matter their education, can quickly search through all of the web pages in the world to uncover the one page revealing the price of eggs in Kathmandu yesterday. Every time you click on the search button, you are employing a robot to do something we as a species are unable to do alone. While the displacement of formerly human jobs gets all the headlines, the greatest benefits bestowed by robots and automation come from their occupation of jobs we are unable to do. We don't have the attention span to inspect every square millimeter of every CAT scan looking for cancer cells. We don't have the millisecond reflexes needed to inflate molten glass into the shape of a bottle. We used to do that. I've dug up very old Victorian bottles, so that's not exactly true. I know they're automated, but another example of skills potentially being lost. We don't have an infallible memory to keep track of every pitch in Major League Baseball and calculate the probability of the next pitch in real time. We aren't giving good jobs to robots. Most of the time we're giving them jobs we could never do. Without them, these jobs would remain undone. Now let's consider Quadrant C. The new jobs created by automation, including the jobs that we did not know we wanted done. This is the greatest genius of the robot takeover. With the assistance of robots and computerized intelligence, we already can do things we never imagined doing 150 years ago. We can remove a tumor in our gut through the navel, make a talking picture video of our wedding, drive a cart on Mars, print a pattern on fabric that a friend mailed to us through the air. We are doing, and sometimes paid for doing, 1 million new activities that would have dazzled and shocked the farmers of 1850. These new accomplishments are not merely chores that were difficult before. Rather, they are dreams that are created chiefly by the capabilities of the machines that can do them. They are jobs the machines make up. Before we invented automobiles, air conditioning, flat-screen video displays and animated cartoons, no one living in ancient Rome wished they could watch cartoons while riding to Athens in climate-controlled comfort. 200 years ago, not a single citizen in Shanghai would have told you that they would buy a tiny slab that allowed them to talk to faraway friends before they would buy indoor plumbing. Crafty AIs embedded in first-person shooter games have given millions of teenage boys the urge, the need to become professional games designers, a dream that no boy in Victorian times ever had. In a very real way, our inventions assign us our jobs. Each successful bit of automation generates new occupations we would not have fantasized about without the prompting of the automation. To reiterate, the bulk of new tasks created by automation are tasks only other automation can handle. Now that we have search engines like Google, we set the servant upon 1,000 new errands. Google, can you tell me where my phone is? Google, can you match the people suffering depression with a doctor selling pills? Google, can you predict when the next viral epidemic will erupt? Technology is indiscriminate this way, piling up possibilities and options for both humans and machines. It is a safe bet that the highest earning professions in the year 2050 will depend on automations and machines that have not been invented yet. That is, we can't see these jobs from here because we can't yet see the machines and technologies that will make them possible. Robots create jobs that we did not even know we wanted done. Finally, that leaves us with Quadrant D. the jobs that only humans can do at first. The one thing humans can do that robots can't, at least for a long while, is decide what it is that humans want to do. This is not a trivial trick. Our desires are inspired by our previous inventions, making this a circular question. Kind of yes, but also at the same time, as AI becomes more sophisticated and able to trick us into thinking it's a real person, that then means we can use that to influence large groups of people. And we have human influencers, but imagine AI influencers that are able to say exactly what you want them to say. Not just for a whole group of people, but specifically for you. So tailored influencers, I think, are a aspect of the future that no one is really discussing or has mentioned. Imagine your favorite influencer is a human, but they have an AI alter ego, and you can have that on your phone and discuss stuff with them, and that AI then responds like that influencer, but is then portable and something you can interact with. Just throwing out ideas there. But the point there is it becomes more tailored, more granular based upon your needs and what you want. The whole issue of what people want, I think, will become much more easy to animate in large groups based on how customized these reactions can be for you. When robots and automation do our most basic work, making it relatively easy for us to be fed, clothed and sheltered, then we are free to ask, what are humans for? Industrialization did more than just extend the average human lifespan. It led a greater percentage of the population to decide that humans were meant to be ballerinas, full-time musicians, mathematicians, athletes, fashion designers, yoga masters, fan fiction authors, and folks with one-of-a-kind titles on their business cards. With the help of our machines, we could take up these roles, but of course, over time, the machines will do these as well. We'll then be empowered to dream up yet more answers to questions, what should we do? It will be many generations before a robot can answer that. Well, maybe. This post-industrial economy will keep expanding, even though most of the work is done by bots. Because part of your task tomorrow will be to find, make, and complete new things to do, new things that will later become repetitive jobs for robots. In the coming years, robot-driven cars and trucks will become ubiquitous. This automation will spawn the new human occupation of trip optimizer, a person who tweaks the traffic system for optimal energy and time usage. And that sounds like something a robot could do really well now, though. Routine robot surgery will necessitate the new skills of keeping machines sterile. When automatic self-tracking of your activities becomes the normal thing to do, a new breed of professional analysis will arise to help you make sense of the data. And of course, we will need a whole army of robot nannies dedicated to keeping your personal bots up and running. Each of these new vocations will in turn be taken over by robots later. The real revolution erupts when everyone has personal work bots, the descendants of Baxter at their beck and call. Imagine you run a small organic farm. Your fleet of worker bots do all the weeding, pest control and harvesting of produce, as directed by an overseer bot, embodied in a mesh of probes in the soil. One day your task might be to research which variety of heirloom tomato to plant. The next day it might be to update your custom labels. The bots perform everything else that can be measured. Right now it seems unthinkable. We can't imagine a bot that can assemble a stack of ingredients into a gift or manufacture spare parts for our own mower, or fabricate materials for our new kitchen. We can't imagine our nephews and nieces running a dozen work bots in their garage, churning out inverters for their friend's electric vehicle startup. We can't imagine our children becoming appliance designers, making custom batches of liquid nitrogen dessert machines to sell to the millionaires in China. But that's what personal robot automation will enable. Well, you just imagined them there, didn't you? Well done. Well done, you. Everyone will have access to a personal robot, but simply owning one will not guarantee success. Rather, success will go to those who innovate in the organization, optimization, and customization of the process of getting work done with bots and machines. Geographical clusters of production will matter not for any differential in labor costs, but because of the differential in human expertise. It's human-robot symbiosis. Our human assignment will be to keep making jobs for robots, and that is a task that will never be finished. So we will always have at least one job. In the coming years, our relationship with robots will become ever more complex, but already a recurring pattern is emerging. No matter what your current job or your salary, you will progress through these 7 stages of robot replacement again and again. Oh no! Number 1, a robot computer cannot possibly do the task I do. 2, okay, it can do a lot of them, but it can't do everything I do. 3, okay, it can do everything I do except it needs me when it breaks down, which is often. 4, okay, it operates flawlessly on routine stuff, but I need to train it for new tasks. 5, okay, it can have my old boring job because it's obvious that was not a job that humans were meant to do. 6, now that robots are doing my old job, my new job is much more fun and pays more. 6 seems like wishful thinking. 7, I'm so glad a robot computer cannot possibly do what I do now. Okay, well, maybe. I'm not sure I have all of the hope for 6 and 7, but I see up to here it makes sense to me. I'm not sure with this rush towards AGI or super AGI that we're going to have to be training them perpetually. That's almost assuming a kind of grey matter supremacy, that we are going to always in some way outpace the machines. Whereas in fact, I would say that they are going to, unless we try and match pace in some way, they're going to exceed us by many orders of magnitude, and we'll be lucky if they let us live in the long term. If we're a drain on resources, if we're forcing into our culture the obsession that we are bad for the environment and selfish and a net drain on the world, and if we're going to impregnate our AI with those biases, then it will, over time, try and winnow us down and down and down until I don't know where we're going to be other than extinct. So I don't like the idea of any misanthropy in our public media. I think it's dangerous right now. It may seem cool to some people, but it's actually a massive existential problem. This is not a race against the machines. If we race against them, we lose. This is a race with the machines. You're paid in the future based on how well you work with robots. 90% of your co-workers will be unseen machines. Most of what you do will not be possible without them, and there will be a blurry line between what you do and what they do. You might no longer think of it as a job, at least at first, because anything that seems like drudgery will be done by robots. There's a lot about humanity that is irreplaceable, like our bodies are very flexible, very durable. These robots are very sophisticated, but they break. So unless you want to make them biological, and we are biological, they're going to be inferior to us. And that will come, I suppose. We need to let robots take over. They will do jobs we have been doing and do them much better than we can. They will do jobs we can't do at all. They will do jobs we never imagined even needed to be done, and they will help us discover new jobs for ourselves, new tasks that explain who we are. They will let us focus on becoming more human than we were. Let the robots take the jobs, and let them help us dream up new work that matters. It's a good point. You make some good points. I want your faith on points 6 and 7, and I think that will play out for quite a while, for a few decades, but I don't think this is a generational issue. I think this is an upheaval that's going to happen probably within my lifetime and yours. There's just too much investment, too much impetus to imagine it suddenly falling short. Simply by looking at the quality of the AI video and images that you can generate, there's a whole load of very, very complex cognition going on behind the scenes there. Now lay that similar complexity over other problems, apply that to other problems, and then stitch them together, and you've got a very, very competent AGI system. So if we start training robots in McDonald's to flip burgers and manage a store, I imagine that will happen pretty quick, within 5-10 years, if you started doing that using telepresence workers and occasionally swapping out with a human. The way I see it is, if you had a robot with a light on its forehead perhaps, and if that light was green, then you knew a human was operating, and if that light was white, perhaps it was being autonomously operated, then you'd be able to know how to greet that entity. So I can imagine a workforce in the future of robots, humanoid robots that are performing tasks, and occasionally you might see one with a green light, and you might be more inclined to say hello. I don't know, because it's a person. But telepresence operation is a massive training boom. It's going to be invested in. It has to be. So just as Kevin Kelly says, maybe those jobs will disappear, and all fast food joints will just be black boxes that spit out the perfect burger and fries. And inside there are a bunch of manipulator arms and other things, and nobody really cares anymore because tasty food comes out. But I don't think so. I think we need people in the loop. We need people who are going to audit these systems. We need to make sure that people can perform these roles. So I would strongly encourage including telepresence robotics in all jobs. That's my take on that. It's a very good article, though. Thank you very much, Kevin Kelly. Well written, sir. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you hit that like button if you like me. If you don't like me, then why are you here? Nobody knows. But that is it. I have nothing more to say except Pigwig out.
Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oink, oink, wee, squeal, snort, snort, oink, kitty, squee. Oink, 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 squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Snort, snuffle, oink, squee, squeal, wee, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, 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 squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, 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 squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal. Snort, snuffle, oink, re, squeal, re, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, 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 snuffle, re, squee, snort, oink, squeal, oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, re, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, oink, oink.